Okay, we're going live. Looks like we're live on Facebook and YouTube. Okay, go ahead and give me a comment if you can see this live, if it's showing up for you. I want to make sure we're up on both YouTube and Facebook. Let's see. I'm going to pull up the comments real quick. See if we can see those. Okay, we have some, okay, we're on YouTube. We're working on Facebook. Okay, it looks like we are live. Awesome. Okay, great. Oh, bump the camera a little. Okay, welcome guys. I'm Kimberly from Sweet Red Poppy. Tonight we are sewing face masks. So just within the past hour, there was a reversal. Let's see.
The New York Times.
The New York Times put out an article saying that that we are preparing for a reversal. Let's see. It says, the White House is preparing for, but has not finalized its guidance that encourages all Americans to wear homemade cloth masks or coverings when outside the home. So basically, this is coming soon. We're jumping on top of it to make our own face masks before it's officially announced. It probably will be announced within the next day or so. So we're gonna use a really simple face mask. I have a few tips and tricks that I wanna share with you guys. If you've already made some face masks, you've probably already been through this, but as I've sewn more and more of these face masks, I found ways to cut down on how much time it takes, cut down on the supplies that you're using, and just make it a little bit easier overall. So if you're watching this, go ahead, give me a thumbs up. Let me know, where are you tuning in from? I'm gonna try to answer our questions. If you have any questions throughout this video, go ahead and just leave those in the comments for me, and I'll do my best to get back to you on all of those.
Do you want to read the CDC statement, the second one?
Okay. There's also a statement from the CDC. A senior official at the CDC said the White House's position evolved in light of more data about the extent that the virus is being spread by asymptomatic individuals. So basically, there's the idea that you could have the virus, not necessarily show any signs of it. So if everyone wears a mask when they're out in public, then they can protect everyone around them. So that is the idea that we're going with. Hello, Tammy. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, Cheryl. Let's see. We're on YouTube as well as Facebook. So go ahead, leave a comment so I can see that it's working on both. Okay. So step one, this is the mask we're sewing tonight. I have 3 different patterns, so you can choose which one fits your needs best. I like this one the very best. I think it's the easiest to sew, offers the most benefit as well. So this one just goes like this, ties around the top of your head, and then ties around the bottom. It also has a wire inside, which makes it flexible, so no matter the shape of your nose or the shape of your face, you can get a nice close fit just by pushing on the wire. That way you don't have things coming in through the top. Let's see, we have some questions. Should you pre-wash your fabric? Definitely pre-wash your fabric before you start sewing. There's a few different reasons why you want to do that. The first reason is a lot of times your material has chemicals on it. It's been stored in a warehouse. It's probably not 100% clean. The second reason is fabric is going to shrink in the washer and in the dryer. So even just going through a hot wash, your fabric will shrink, and then it's going to shrink another time when it goes through the dryer. So you don't want to spend all your time sewing up a face mask only to have it get all scrunched up in the dryer and shrink on you, and then it won't fit. So if you're sewing it for yourself or even for a hospital, make sure you're pre-washing your fabric. I recommend not using any fabric softener, just use a light detergent on it. Okay, lots of people tuning in, so fun. If you're watching this, go ahead and share this video with your friends. If you have a crafty Facebook group, share it in there. We want to spread the word. We can make our face masks from home for ourselves. We can also make them for medical providers to help lessen the burden since we've experienced some shortages here in the US. Okay, the very first step is to print off your pattern. So this is what the pattern looks like. You'll notice it has a 1 by 1 inch square up at the very top. What the 1 inch square does is it helps you to calibrate your pattern and make sure that it was printed correctly. So what I want to do is take my ruler, make sure that it is actually a 1 by 1 inch square. If it's not, you'll need to reprint the pattern. What I recommend is going to sweetredpoppy.com, downloading the pattern to your computer and then opening it up as a new file and printing it. That will make sure that it prints the right way. So I'm going to cut this out. Now you can use a rotary cutter and a rotary mat. If you have one, you can also use a pair of scissors. One of the things that I have been asked a lot is, what if you don't have a printer? You can always have a friend print it for you. You can print it online and have it shipped to you. The last option I would suggest is to pull it up on your computer screen. Take a ruler, like a clear ruler, make sure that 1 inch is right. You can, what's the word?
Trace?
You can just trace it. You can just zoom in or out to make sure that it's showing up at the right percentage, so at 100%, and then just trace your pattern out with a white piece of paper. So that's a really easy way if you don't have access to a printer right now. Okay, let me know if you guys have any questions as you're watching this. Let's see, how do you get the patterns? The patterns are on sweetredpoppy.com. I linked to my blog post in the description of this video, so you can find that. But you can just type in sweetredpoppy.com, and I think it's the second post that's up. So I have my pattern cut out. What we're going to do is cut out 2 pieces of this, so 1 for either side, and we're going to have a front layer and a back layer. Something to keep in mind, something that I have heard a lot from nurses and doctors, is that if you're sewing these, you want to make sure you have a front fabric and a back fabric, and you know which is which, because when you're wearing this and you're exposed to germs, it's going to be all on the front of your face mask, and you don't want to accidentally put the front of your face mask back on your face and expose yourself to germs. So be aware of that. That's something to keep in mind. So you can do this pattern with a fat quarter. Fat quarters are easy to find at any craft store. If you don't have a fat quarter, you can use things at home, such as a t-shirt, a dishcloth. You can even cut up, let's see, an old bedspread or your sheets. Really anything that's fabric is going to work. I recommend using a quilting cotton because it's somewhat breathable. I think it's important to make sure that you can breathe through your mask, otherwise you're probably not going to wear it. Hi Christina, she says she loves my top. You're so sweet. Let's see if there's other questions. You see, Josh is over here with us as well. Do you see any questions on YouTube? I can't see the comments on there. I'm trying to pull up comments so we can see what, oh, there we go. Someone says, question. Love your question. Quick question here. Yeah, go ahead. Put any questions you have in the comments, and I will just answer those.
Can you make this style mask with a filter pocket?
Yes. Okay, I'm actually going to show you how to make a filter pocket today. It's pretty easy to do. So what you want to do is lay your fabric out. I have mine folded over. Now I'm going to be cutting out a few different masks at once because I want to sew masks for my whole family, and I might as well get the most out of my time. So I've just folded my fabric into thirds. Let's make sure Facebook can see. I'm gonna pull this table back just a little bit. Okay, Facebook, can you guys see okay? Caitlin says all she has is cotton spandex. Yes, you can still use that. Are you using an interfacing? So this is a really good question. Are you using an interfacing? I'm not putting an interfacing in mine, and there's a reason why. First off, if you put a non-woven interfacing inside of your mask, it's going to make it really hard to breathe. Second off, I like to give people the option of whether or not they want a filter inside of their mask. So I'm going to create a pocket, and then you can put a filter in if you want. You can take it out if you want. It's up to whoever wears it. Can you scroll down just a little bit on that one? We're going to comment, no, back up. Let's see, go back, yeah, Amanda. Go back to that one.
Kim, my dear friend, you're the sweetest. As a nurse, these help so many people. We were out of masks. The filter masks are awesome, especially material like N95
Yes,
masks.
Something else I want to mention. This can be worn over an N95 mask. If it's being worn over an N95 mask, there's no reason to put a filter in it because the N95 is already going to filter things. So you can leave it just as the cotton. So I'm going to cut out my fabric. My rotary needs to be changed. I think I've used it a few too many times. Let's go over this one more time. So if you don't have a rotary cutter, just use a pair of scissors to cut this out.
And I was just going to read another statement to give context for those who are joining. So the New York Times article about an hour ago said that the CDC confirmed in a radio interview that they're reviewing its guidelines on who should wear the masks. They're also saying the CDC has been preparing to recommend that everyone wear face coverings in public settings like pharmacies and grocery stores to avoid unwittingly spreading the virus. Public health officials have continued to stress, however, N95 masks and surgical masks should be saved for the frontline doctors and nurses, but because they've been in dire need of protective gear. But anybody going to a pharmacy and grocery store, which is everybody else, we're going to need some sort of a face covering or a cloth mask from the CDC. So
awesome. So you can make this for yourself. You can make it for your healthcare providers if they've run out of masks. Zoanna says, is there enough protection for nurses if it just has 2 layers of cotton? I would recommend having a filter in there if you're a nurse. I would definitely have a filter of some sort in there. Just a simple Google search on what to put in a face mask for a filter I think it'll bring you up to Smart Air Filters, which has some really great recommendations. And they've done a lot of scientific testing, so we know what works and what doesn't. Oh, this rotary is just terrible.
Do you have another one?
I just need a switch. Sorry. Must have gone over something bad. Hey, we have a little one who snuck out of his bed. Silly. Okay, so let me know, what have you guys been doing while you've been stuck at home, if you've been stuck at home? I'm curious to know, have you found any good TV shows? What is keeping you busy? Is homeschooling your children driving you insane? Because it's driving me a little bit insane. What size for children? I have not made this into a child's size pattern yet. What is possible that you can do if you want it smaller is you can scale it down when you go to print it. You can just put it at a smaller percentage. Let's see. Someone says, do you advise medium weight interfacing on it? I don't, as I said earlier, I don't like putting interfacing on it. I would rather put a filter inside and then be able to wash it. I also want you to be really aware of how hard it's going to be to breathe in, because that is really going to determine whether or not you actually wear your mask in public. Amy says, are y'all donating any? Yes. I have donated tons of these masks already to hospitals in need. I have a bunch of links on my blog. If you are looking for a hospital that is in need, I have some great links to hook you up with people. So you can send me a message if you need that, or I can put it in the comments. What are the straps made from? Sorry guys, lots of questions. Today we're making straps from an old t-shirt. So in my tutorials, I showed you guys how to use bias tape. Bias tape can be a little bit of a pain. I understand that. It's harder to come by. It's harder to sew if you're a newbie sewer. So I stole a t-shirt from my husband. I'm going to show you how to make straps out of that. It's about 10 times easier. There is a link at the top. Yes, there's a link at the top where you can get the pattern. It's on sweetredpoppy.com. Okay, so I am cutting out 3 layers. Can everyone see that? And what I'm doing with the 3 layers, so in my normal tutorial, I have you cut out just 2 sets instead of 3. But I'm going to show you how to do a filter. So that's why I have the extra ones. Let's see. Heather says she's been making masks nonstop. Awesome. Thank you so much. Maria says she's doing 3 or 4 layers of fabric. The only thing to keep in mind with 4 layers of fabric, make sure that you can breathe through it so that you're going to keep it on your mouth and your face at all times. Naomi, that's a great question. She says, would you recommend we spray with Lysol before we package up and ship? I would recommend that when you're sewing, that you make sure your sewing space is clean and that you're using good hygiene, you're not touching your face, not touching your hair. And then I would put it in a plastic bag. You could spray it with some Lysol. What I've heard from almost every hospital I've contacted is that they are washing the masks as soon as they arrive at the hospital. So it's not usually a worry. I would just make sure if you're handing it to someone or giving it to someone personally, have them wash it in their own home. Okay, I think I've caught up with questions, but if I miss a question completely, go ahead and just put that question up there again and I will answer it. So what we're going to do is start pinning our masks together. Let's see if I can find my pins. Oh, they're over here. I did see something, I had some questions on my blog about pinning your fabric. There was a worry that putting a pin through your fabric would cause a hole in your fabric. Here's my thoughts. It does create a tiny hole. What happens though is when you wash it or when you steam your fabric, that hole is going to shrink back up to normal because you're not actually creating a hole in your fabric. What you're doing is you're pushing the fibers to either side typically. So I'm going to be using pins. If you have clips, you can use clips if that makes you feel better. So throw a few pins. Now this is what the mask looks like. Here's our pattern. The first part that we're going to sew is this rounded part, and this is going to be the part that goes from our nose all the way to our chin. Carla says, will the mask stay on even if you don't have wire on it? They still will, yeah, they totally will. Sandra says, do you wash your fabric? Definitely wash your fabric. Becca just tuned in. Hey, Becca. So I'm going to repeat this with the other ones. Okay. I'm going to try to read any questions. Oh, Naomi, yeah, I know. But yeah, it couldn't hurt to spray them with some Lysol. Let's see. You can open, oh, good questions about what to use as your wire. Okay, this is what I'm using as my wire. It's floral wire. I just found it at Joann. Other things that you could use. I've seen people using a strip of aluminum foil. So what you would do is just take maybe a rectangle and roll it up tightly. You could use that. You could use a paper clip. Something that everyone has in their house is go grab your bag of bread and you probably have a twisty tie on it. That works as well. Let's see, we have a question. Did you make the pleated mask? No, today we are making this one. This is the fitted mask. This one I like a little bit better than the pleated mask just because it has a better fit and it's a little bit easier to sew. Does the wire get messed up when they wash it? That's a great question, Cheyenne. The way that we are inserting it, it won't get too messed up. It might get a little bit bent, but it's really easy to bend it back into place. Michelle said she's been using pipe cleaners. I've seen a lot of people using pipe cleaners. My only worry with pipe cleaners is if they rust. I would just double check. Put your pipe cleaner in water for a little while and see how it holds up. Okay. Let's see. Someone else says they've used floral wire as well. It works really well. I'm not sure what gauge I'm using. I know I had that question. Let's see. 22 gauge. So it's not super thick. It's also not the lightest. Do we get him back in bed?
Yep.
Okay. Do you want to pull up questions? So Josh is here with me, my husband. He's going to pull up questions, and if there's anything I've been missing, he's going to pull those up for us. So I'm going to pull my sewing machine over. Okay, any questions that we need to answer?
Pull up the live. You're looking at YouTube, or?
Yeah. Oh, there's our YouTube comments. Yay.
Is this pattern same as your closed mask?
That's my closed mask. I'm not sure what that means. The fitted one?
Probably the fitted one. Yep.
Yes, this is the fitted one.
Where can we find the CDC guidelines or the WHO guidelines? Kelly, there's a New York Times article that came out an hour ago talking about this, some of the changes that they're about to put out within the next day or two about their updated guidelines. Both the White House and the CDC are working on it together. It's in the New York Times. If you Google New York Times masks, you'll see it. How can we get the pattern, please?
SweetRedPoppy.com.
Yep, sweetredpoppy.com. It's like the second or third post. Brandy says, hi, Kim and Josh. She helped us sew all of our fun stuff. Hope you're doing okay, Brandy. Is the seam allowance built into the pattern size?
It definitely is, yep. All of my patterns that I put out always have the seam allowance as part of the pattern.
Will this mask have an opening for easily removing the wire for washing?
This one does not have a spot to remove the wire for washing. I haven't had an issue with washing with the wire.
I ordered craft wire that is coated. Haven't washed
you're
it.
super loud since you're right next to the microphone.
Sorry.
Thank you. They said thank you though for answering the question.
You're welcome. I ordered craft wire that is coated. Haven't washed it yet. Love your comment on pins.
Great idea. We're gonna switch thread.
Do you think the floral wire will rust with repeated washings?
From what I read, it won't, but it's a possibility.
Let's see.
Could probably treat the end with something.
Can you use ribbon instead of bias? Thank you.
Yes, you can definitely use ribbon instead of bias. There are quite a few different things you can use in place of bias tape that will work. So ribbon is one of those. I'm also going to show you how to do straps from a t-shirt, which makes it really easy. You could use twill tape. You could even just use a folded over piece of fabric. You could just create a little tie. Use elastic if you have access to elastic. One of the reasons I'm not sewing with elastic tonight is just because most of the supply of elastic in the United States seems to have disappeared in the past week. So as everyone's been sewing these masks.
One more question. Can you try to make a larger size for men or people with bigger heads? Haha, also a youth size.
Yes, we can definitely increase the size as well as decrease it. I can get rid on that.
I think that was most of them.
Oh, and as I was busy chatting, I did not get threaded correctly. Okay, let's see. Is your pattern the same as the Cricut cut file? No, it's a little bit different than the Cricut cut file. I haven't made the Cricut cut file, so I can't speak to that one. It looks similar. I know I did a little bit more fit testing on this one just to get everything right, so I could compare them and see. It's up to you which one you make. Let's see, Patricia says she was making masks from our patterns. She says she broke her needle today and can't find, I'm not sure, I can't see the rest of that.
What kind of Janome is it you're using?
This is a Janome 4120QDC. I love this machine. You can find it on Amazon.
Someone was saying that on the news that we shouldn't use the vacuum bags as filters. Someone else was saying they don't use it either now. Vacuum cleaner HEPA bags. I found warnings that they contain lead and cancer-causing materials.
That's a little bit scary. Hi Desiree, thanks for tuning in. That's okay. If you missed the beginning, as always with our Facebook Lives, we always post them after we're done being live, and you can just rewatch it. Okay, I had an issue with my thread, so give me a second to rethread. Because whenever you go on camera, you have issues with your sewing machine. Does anybody need a link to the pattern? I can have Josh throw a link in the comments if you're having a hard time finding that.
Someone said they have a senior. Yeah, they're their senior, they're extended, so like their senior in high school is no longer able to go to her senior year.
That's so sad.
I'll work on the link.
Okay, Josh is gonna throw a link in there for us. How are you guys all doing from home? How are things going for you with not being able to leave the house? How is homeschooling going? Okay, we're getting that link up. I'm curious to know how everyone's hanging in there. Okay, so make sure that you're back stitching this from your beginning and ending. So on this blue one, which is my liner, I'm leaving an opening about halfway through. So I'm gonna leave about a 3-inch opening. Make sure you back stitch when you stop and start, because you don't want your seam to come undone. If there's anything I need to clarify, just go ahead and give me another comment. Let me know if there's something that you're not seeing clear enough. Let's see, some people are saying horrible. I know it's so hard right now. I think having unknowns is what makes it really hard, just not knowing. Yep. We are just hanging in there. On a brighter side, what Netflix shows are you guys watching? Because Josh and I need a new Netflix show with all of our newly found free time. I mean, we're open to other networks as well, Josh, right?
Yeah, someone has asked, Jennifer, can I hand sew or use super glue if I don't have a sewing machine tomorrow?
Okay, that's a great question. So tomorrow we are planning on doing another live where we use a hot glue gun with fabric hot glue to sew, well, to close our masks. So it would be a no-sew option for those of you who don't know how to sew. And I still have to test it out tonight. I'm pretty sure it's going to work, but I'll get back to you tomorrow with that. But you could definitely hand sew the mask. Yep. Okay, Tiger King. I'm cracking up. Who else is watching Tiger King? Give me a thumbs up if you've been watching Tiger King, because I just started on that, and it is crazy. Crazy. Okay, so I'm putting my other mask up here just so I have an idea of where I stopped and started. Remember, I'm leaving this opening so that I can have a spot for my filter. If you wanted to eliminate having the second layer, you could. The only worry I would have is that you would have raw edges exposed, which I'm not crazy about. Carolyn says no, it's horrible. It's an interesting show. What other TV shows, if you guys are not watching Tiger King, because it's a little bizarre, what are you watching? Let's see. Someone said, just ran out of elastic and ribbon. If you ran out of elastic and ribbon, I'm going to show you the t-shirt method in just a little bit. Okay, so those are all sewn. So now we need to press our fabric.
Teresa, thank you for being a grocery store worker.
Yes, thank you.
People still need food is what she says, and that's so true.
We are so grateful for all of our essential workers right now. We know it's probably not fun to have to go to work, especially with all these unknowns. It's scary, but we are so grateful for everyone.
How do you keep the open pocket from fraying?
How do you keep the open? Oh, I'm going to show you. We are just short. I'm going to plug this in real quick. Can you answer questions while I...
Yep, I'm looking here. We're plugging in some devices.
Okay, we're plugged in.
Hi, Patty. Yeah, there's a full tutorial recorded if you want to watch that for just the steps.
Yeah, if you want a really quick tutorial, there is a 3-minute video. There is also a 7 or 8-minute video. So go ahead and you can go ahead over to YouTube or Facebook and watch those if you don't have time. Cheyenne said I may have missed it. What fabric did you use? We are using cotton, so this is just quilting cotton. You can find it at any craft store. 100% quilting cotton. So I'm just pressing my seams open. I'm gonna go ahead and press this one as well. And again, the really shortened condensed video is on YouTube and Facebook. That's 3 minutes long. Let's see. Laura says, I'm loving the slower pace of life. However, I'm not liking the virus. Yes, we've definitely enjoyed having our kids around, slowing down a little bit, just enjoying being with each other, not having 5 million things to do and go to. That's been kind of nice. My husband typically travels a lot for work, and it's been nice having him home, not on the road. He laughs.
I love it too.
He likes it too. We're driving him a little bit crazy, but. Cindy says craft stores are closed. Most, I think Joanne and Michael's are still open in most cities, and if they're not, you can order online. And a lot of times you can even, sometimes your grocery store even has fabric packs. You can look for a fat quarter bundle. So that's an option as well. Okay, when you're sewing, really important, use an iron if you have it. I know it might seem like an antiquated thing to do, like something of years past, but let me tell you, it's gonna make your mask look about 10 times better. So go ahead, break your iron out, fill it up with some steam, fill it up with water to make steam. And please use it while you're pressing. It also helps to shrink back all of those little holes that you have from your pins. Okay, I keep getting distracted by all the comments. Sorry, guys. So I am placing my masks together really quick. We're going to cut our strips of t-shirts. So my husband was sweet enough to offer up one of his shirts for sacrifice tonight. So you want to look for a shirt that is slightly stretchy. So you can see this one has a little bit of stretch to it. I'm going to grab my ruler. Again, if you don't have these extra supplies, you can just cut it with a pair of scissors. So I'm going to cut them about 1 inch wide because they are going to roll on themselves and become a little bit smaller. And let's see. I think all of our kids are out of bed.
Are they? Well, I've got 2 choices: comments, comments or kids.
You can do comments. We're having a late night over here, guys.
They're having fun. They're playing Legos.
Let's see. Laura says, thank you for taking the time to teach us. Of course, I love teaching people and sharing this with you all. I'm just laughing that my little ones have all snuck out of their beds. Okay, I'm just going to kind of measure. So it's going to go from about here to around the back of my head and need to tie. So it looks like 13 inches is going to work perfectly. I think my tutorial says 14 inches, so that's about fine.
Couple of questions.
Yes, questions.
How can I get a pattern? SweetRedPoppy.com.
SweetRedPoppy.com for the pattern.
I put the link in the comments just now. We also have, how long are you cutting the strips? I think you said 13 inches.
13 inches by 1 inch. And this is not a perfect science. It's a knit piece of fabric. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Can we use coffee filters?
You can use a coffee filter. I've heard of that. I can't tell you whether or not that's the most effective or not.
What about upcycling a sheet that you no longer want to use?
Definitely you can upcycle a sheet.
What size wire?
What size wire? I'm using 22, I believe it was 22. 22 gauge. You could use thicker or thinner. Desiree says, I have missed your lives, Kim. Glad to see you live and look at all the viewers. Oh, thank you, Desiree. We used to, in the winter time, we did a live every week and it was so fun.
You should ask Desiree what she thinks about you doing more lives.
Josh wants to know, Desiree, what do you think about us doing more Facebook lives?
And YouTube lives.
He's trying to get me doing more and more content. He likes to keep me busy. Okay, so what I did was I just folded this in half. Let me show you. Here's my strip. I'm folding it in half. And then I am pinning it. And here's the thing. With these strips of knit fabric doesn't really unravel, so you can leave the raw edges unsewn, which makes this a lot faster because you skip like 4 steps. When you're doing this, make sure that you bundle these little ties up in a nice tight bundle. That way they don't get in the way of your seams when you're sewing. I think they're doing a little midnight snack downstairs.
It's Lego time.
Oh, Legos. They're like, where's mom and dad? Okay, anybody else need that pattern link?
I dropped it a few times in both.
Okay, Josh has been dropping it. Lisa says she's making these for dialysis patients. Thank you so much for sewing these. For anyone who's donating these, anyone who's sewing them, I just want to say thank you because I really appreciate it. It makes me, it just makes my heart so happy knowing how many people are out there serving their community. It's okay if they play.
Yeah. It's alive. If people want the step-by-step, there's a video for that. This is supposed to be fun and interactive. The iPad's died, so I can't see the comments anymore.
Oh. Okay, so I'm stacking my face masks on top right here. Let's see. What am I doing with this?
Someone says they love hearing the kiddos.
Okay.
That's kind of our life now,
guys.
though.
That's our kid. That's our life. Yeah, we have 3.5-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old. So it's busy. Vicky says she's going to make hers with a quilt binding. Yep. On my previous tutorial, I used a bias tape, which is a quilt binding, and it works really well. The concern from a lot of people was that it was a little bit harder to sew. So we're just using fabric ties, knit fabric. But it's really up to you what you use.
Someone asked, are you going to make them on a serger?
You could definitely make this on a serger, which would make everything faster. If you have a serger, you could definitely do that. Letty says we've had a lot of people saying they're donating. Let's see. Oh, Beth says, I have 3 boys, now preteens and teens. I miss those little giggles. The giggles are really the best. They really are. Okay, my brain's just having a hard time with this. Okay, any other questions you want to answer, Josh?
Random fingers. Sorry, I keep hello, my hat's right there. Sorry, and I'm too loud in the. What about turning the camera to landscape mode? We did try that.
Yeah, we tried and
it wouldn't let us. It's kind of a weird setting right now on YouTube. It won't let us do it. So we're kind of informal tonight, but we saw that article in the New York Times and we thought if CDC is going to really change their ruling on home masks and everybody to have one out in public like pharmacies.
We wanted to jump on this and make sure that you guys had a tutorial. Okay, there was one little step I forgot about. Okay, I have both of my liners right here. I'm stacking them on top of each other. Remember, I left a piece unsewn on either side. I'm going to sew the inside 2 pieces together because this is going to create a fully enclosed seam. That way when you wash it, it doesn't come undone. So I'm just going to stitch this up a little bit. And I mean, the easiest way is just to do it the way my pattern instructs, and it doesn't have a filter, but I wanted to give you guys the option of putting a filter in there just because it's nice to have that extra security if you want it. Okay, I'm gonna do the same on the other side. I wanna show you how I'm doing this. So I'm connecting these seams so that we still have a little pocket, but it's enclosed. Let's see. Let me make sure this is working. There it is. Okay, so the opposite side is still unsewn. That's what we're gonna sew together. And then when it opens up, we still have a pocket in the middle, maybe. I swear it worked earlier. Let's see. Here it is. Okay. As you're sewing, just make sure you're keeping your opening in the middle. There we go. I found it. Let's see. Someone else said they loved the Christmas craft down. It was so fun. I miss doing that. We're hoping to do some more Facebook Lives soon. So hold me to my word if you can. Just be like, Kim, why aren't you doing more? And I will plan more of them. If you want me to make a little short video of how I added this filter to this, I will make a short one because that was a little bit hard to understand. Let's see. Do some Christmas in July. Lisa, or Linda, sorry. That would be so fun. I love that idea. Okay. Let's just get this all worked out. And that one was backwards. Sorry guys. I think trying to sew and doing all of the comments is just got me off just a bit. Let's see. Where did you hear the CDC is telling everyone to wear masks in public? Ginger says. Ginger, the New York Times said the CDC is reversing its statement. You can look that up. It went live about an hour ago, and it says that they're currently working on a reversal. The World Health Organization seems to also be changing their stance. The United States government has also said it would be smart to wear masks in public as well. So lots of different sources are saying that. What are you using for the filter? Says Charlene. Charlene, you can use whatever you'd like for the filter. You can do a Google search again and look up what things are being used for the filters. Since I'm not a medical expert, I don't really want to tell you exactly what to use in a filter, but some ideas of what people are using. Some people are using a layer of, let's see, a dry wipe inside, which is something that's non-woven. Some people have used the inside of a vacuum cleaner bag. We saw some comments earlier that said maybe that's not a good idea now. There's a lot of different ideas out there. What else have you heard, Josh? I'm trying to think. Had a little whoops and I sewed things backwards because I was trying to answer comments without you.
Yeah. Cora's asking about the new CDC guidelines. If you Google New York Times mask article, you can find the latest predictions of the edits that they're making, both the White House and the CDC.
Yeah. Some
questions from YouTube. You're doing great. Thank you.
Thanks for being patient with me tonight, guys.
Are you putting in the metal bit?
I have not put the metal in yet. We will get to that in just a minute. So what I just did was I created the filter pocket. Let me press it and then I'll show it to you because right now it just looks like a hot mess. You won't be able to even see what I'm talking about.
So some are saying they can't see the table. I think you guys have to move your phone landscape.
It's possible that your comments are covering. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, sometimes you have to shut the
Sometimes
comments.
you have to swipe the comments down. Sometimes it lets you, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so I just created our filter pocket. So remember, we left an opening on both of our lining fabrics, and then we kind of pieced them together. We sewed the opposite sides. So we just have this little hole, and this is going to be on the inside. And then you'll have this one layered on top, and you'll be able just to slide something right inside. Kim says, are the pleated masks still okay to use? Yes, you can definitely use the pleated masks. I think that this one's a little bit easier for someone who's new to sewing, which is the reason why I'm showing it to you tonight.
And tomorrow, tune in for a no-sew
Tomorrow we're going to do our best to go live again with a no-sew mask tutorial. So if that's more what you're looking for, tune in tomorrow night. We, our live time is to be determined.
Yeah. Try to go earlier.
We'll try to go a little bit earlier. Yep.
It's midnight New York.
Let's see. I know I did see some things being said. The material that is used during surgery to lay instruments on. I know some people are making their masks out of that. That was another idea. I've seen so much in the past few days. I'm trying to remember it all. Okay, so I've placed my liner on top of my outside fabric. They're right sides together. It looks like it's wrong, but look. There's the right side and there's the right side facing each other. And I'm going to make sure that I'm lining up my seam allowances. I like to have those nice and spot on the top and on the bottom. And then along the bottom of the mask, I like to place a pin horizontally as just a visual reminder that I'm not going to sew that part closed, because that's where you're going to be turning your mask right side out. So down here on the bottom, you need about a 2 to 3 inch opening. So I'm just placing this pin in here to remind myself, don't sew there. Linda says she's having a hard time finding the patterns on my site. Linda, it's possible that you are on the wrong tutorial. I have 3 different tutorials. You're looking for the fitted face mask. You want to go to the supplies, and in big bold letters it says something like download the pattern here. Okay, now I'm going to sew with a 3/8 inch seam allowance along the outside of my mask. Don't forget to backstitch. When you come to the corner, leave your needle in the down position. Lift your presser foot and pivot.
They're playing
They're
trains.
playing trains downstairs.
Beep beep.
That's so cute. What time is it? They're gonna be so tired.
Yeah.
So cute. Okay, I'm leaving my opening, so I backstitched at the end of my seam. And I'm going to backstitch at the beginning of my next seam. The reason for that is when you're turning your fabric right side out, you're putting a lot of pressure on that seam. And if you don't backstitch at the beginning and the end, it's just going to come apart. So take a minute to do that. I mean, really, it's more like 5 seconds. But just make sure that you're doing that. And as you're sewing, you can just check as you're going to make sure that all of your fabric ties are in the middle of your mask. Stitch, and you're finished. Okay, you want to make sure, I always like to check from the back of my mask to make sure that I caught all of the fabric, that I didn't miss any spots. It's always better to check right now than to find out later that something didn't go according to plan. Charlene says, thank you so much for making the video. Sure thing. Anne Marie, says, can you use old t-shirts to make masks too? You can definitely use an old t-shirt and cut that up to make a mask. You can use a dishcloth. You can use sheets from your bed if you have an old sheet. You can use, let's see, there's a whole list out there if you just Google what you can make it from. The only thing I would say is before you start sewing it, hold it up to your face, whatever material it is you want to sew with, and however many layers you're planning on sewing with, hold it up to your face. Make sure that you can actually breathe through it, because that's important. If you can't breathe through it, you're probably not going to actually wear it. So now I am removing my pins from inside. Remember, I pinned my ties. Just want to get those out of the way. I'm gonna add my metal piece here in just a second. So you can skip this if you don't want to have that piece of metal along your nose. It's totally up to you. Okay, so I like to just cut a piece of metal, hold it up to my nose, kind of get an idea how long I want it to be. That feels about right. Again, there's a lot of measurements in here that don't have to be an exact measurement with the ties, with the metal. It has a lot to do with your personal preference, the size of your face. So I wouldn't get too worried about those details. I think my comments got stuck on this. Can you swipe up for me a little bit? On the ends of your mask, your metal, you want to curl them in. So you're just gonna turn this side in. Thanks. Turn this side in. The reason that we're doing that is if you don't turn them in, it's possible that they can poke through your fabric, poke yourself, or cause an issue when they're in the washing machine. So just go ahead and do that. And then I lay out my mask in front of me, just like this. Let me make sure that both cameras can see that. Okay, looks like we're good. And what I'm going to do is just pin this in place where I want it to be. I like to have it just a little bit, pretty much just in the middle of where I sewed and the edge of my fabric. So use a few pins to get it exactly where you want it, and then we're going to be zigzag stitching over it. Now this is probably the hardest part of the entire mask, is zigzagging over the metal. If you want to skip the middle, you can. Another option would be on your sewing machine to widen your zigzag stitch as far as you can, zigzag along the top, and then slide your metal into it. That might be a little bit easier if you're nervous about zigzag stitching over metal. So I am pulling up my zigzag stitch, increasing the width. And what that does is it goes from like being like doot 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 to like this much bigger. You know, you want it as big as you can get it. And I am putting my wire in the very middle of my presser foot. Let's see, Rachel says she has tons of Gildan t-shirts. Yes, you could definitely use your t-shirts. And go slowly, you don't have to sew this quickly. Just go slowly and see where your needle's gonna end up. Keep your wire in the very center and you'll be fine. Questions that I can answer?
It's kind of slowed down. Most of them just kind of watching you. People, other questions about the CDC guidelines. Again, they're not official guidelines yet, but the New York Times has an article that says several administrators, both in the White House and in the CDC,
Okay, so this is what this
are going to
looks
release
like.
new guidelines in
see,
the next 2 days.
Sorry, I just spoke over you.
That's okay.
Josh said there should be new CDC guidelines coming soon. There's been lots of talk about it, but
Just read the New York Times article.
just read the New York Times article if you want to know what we were referring to. Okay, now it's time to turn this right side out. So we're pretty much finished with the sewing. What I like to do, if you have the wire in the top of this, I'm going to pinch onto my wire. So I put my fingers through this hole, and I'm just going to pull on it. And what this does is it keeps your wire straight so it's not getting bent as you're turning it right side out. I just think it makes everything a little bit easier, so then you don't have to straighten it. Okay, let me know if you guys have any questions as you're watching. Again, just leave those in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. If I missed your question, it's possible that there were just too many questions at once, so put it back in the comments again. Also, I want to know how many of you watching have already made some of my masks. How many have you made? Have you donated them? What have you done with them? I want to hear all about it. Oh, I have a question. What do you snack on when you're sewing? I am a big snacker. So I usually don't sew unless I have a snack. What are all of my different snacks though? I love Lifesaver gummies. I love Skittles. I love pretty much all candy. I'm like a salty and then sweet, so if I can have some chips in there too, I won't say no to that. Okay, so I am just pushing the corners out. So see, this is the side of my mask, and I am pushing each corner out just to get a nice sharp point. It's not necessarily necessary, but I think it makes it look better. And I want it to look nice and polished. Okay, so my corners are turned out. I want to give this a good press. Make sure you have plenty of steam in your iron for this, because we're going to try to get all of our pieces of fabric to lay flat on each other. So we do have our opening, remember this. I'm going to press my seam allowance under where it would have been sewn. That way it'll make it a little bit easier when I go over it, when I sew over that spot in just a minute. And then I like to just roll back and forth with my fingers to get those seam allowances turned out. And then I'm going to give it another good press. Okay, at this point, sewing machine just came unplugged. We said, please a non-sewing tutorial. Yes, tomorrow night we're gonna try to do a no-sew tutorial using a glue gun with fabric glue sticks, which is apparently a thing that I just found out about. So we will try that. Caitlin says, where is your craft room located in your house? We are upstairs. Someone said, OMG, that iron. Love this iron. It's like the coolest thing ever. Okay, I'm closing up this opening right now. And I'm just gonna give this. So what I like to do is I just do a top stitch along the entire bottom of this face mask. You could just do it along the opening. I think it looks kind of cute. All the way across. Make sure that you're back on a straight stitch though. Josh, do we have any questions to ask?
A lot of comments in YouTube. A lot of folks talking about how many they made, which is really awesome.
Oh yes, can you please read all of those?
So Laura said she 20 donated and 10 for family.
That's awesome.
Someone said they made 100. Mary Elizabeth
100
had
face
made
masks.
over
That's
100.
amazing,
Gave the
Mary.
most away to grocery store workers.
See, okay, Becky says she's made 50 of the pleated style for friends and neighbors that are nurses. That's amazing. Okay, keep telling me about this.
Someone said that they made the fitted mask with 4 layers. They're going to redo it so she can breathe better. So
Good
that's
idea.
kind of a trial and error, which is cool to hear
Have to
about.
learn.
Because that tells you about the layers. It is hard to breathe through a lot of layers.
I mean, I find even with just the 2 layers, it's a little bit hard to breathe. Josh wore one into Walmart when he did our grocery shopping. How did you feel?
It was good, but definitely enough.
Yeah.
I was pretty hot after an hour and ready to take it off. Someone said, love your videos. Is there a pattern with one strap? They don't like it around their ears. I think so far we only have it with top and bottom straps.
Okay, there's 3 different sewing patterns. They have options, so you can have the elastic go around your ears like this. You can have the elastic go all the way around your head, or you can have ties that go around your head. So it's really up to you what feels the most comfortable for you. You can choose that. It's customizable, really, is the nice thing. So any of the patterns, you can do what you want. We have little ones downstairs. or just having a blast.
It kind of echoes up here. Someone said, how long does it take for you to make one mask if you're not teaching?
If I wasn't teaching you guys, this mask would probably take me maybe 10, 12 minutes to sew. It's pretty quick. With all the talking and getting sidetracked, it takes me a little bit longer.
Someone else said, has anyone made masks with hot glue gun instead of sewing? And Camille, we're going to try to do that tomorrow.
Camille, tomorrow we're going to try to do a mask with fabric glue sticks. We're going to see how that works. My thought would be you would need to have fabric straps and not elastic. I think pulling from the elastic would cause the glue to come undone, but I'm going to try it tomorrow and then I will go live and let you guys know what I find. Curious, would the mask hold up as well with a glue? Yeah, with a glue. We're going to try it tomorrow and let you know what we find out. Okay, I think this is done. So we have a little filter pocket that we can slide something into. We have a nose wire. I'm just going to model this for you. This is nice, these ties, because they're stretchy, so you can get a really good fit. I'm going to tie this. I like to tie it around my head nice and high.
Alice is saying, can we use rubber band headbands instead of elastic?
Yeah, if you go to the dollar store, okay, so here's what it looks like modeled. If you go to the dollar store, you can find normal ponytail holders, so like a little circle. You can also find the larger ones that go all the way around your head, and either of those will work. You just want to make sure that when you're inserting it into your fabric, your face mask, that you're really doing a nice zigzag stitch over it and securing it to the fabric, because you have a lot of pull. There's a lot of tension on that fabric. Make sure it's secured really well.
How long are your ties? I think they're probably one of the
14 inches.
14? Okay.
And again, this is a t-shirt, so it's 14, but it's going to stretch a lot, so you could even make them shorter.
What's the nose wire made of?
The nose wire that I used is a floral wire, so this is what it looks like. It's coated. Is it coated? No, it's not coated. I thought it was coated. It's green. I'm not sure if it's coated or not. The printed pattern says 12 inches. Yeah, like I said, Linda, the measurement for the ties it can be up or down from that. It depends on the size of your head. It's not a hard and fast rule.
It's past midnight in New York.
It's past midnight in New York, so we are going to wrap this up. It's been so fun to sew with you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for dealing with the craziness. It was fun to sew with you. If you need this pattern, you can find it for free. It's available on sweetredpoppy.com. So go ahead and find that. It is called a fitted face mask. There's 3 different patterns, so you can go with the fitted one if you want this same design. And we will see you guys tomorrow night. Thanks so much.